Шановні пані і панове, від імені українського ресторану «Золотий лев» хочу привітати всіх вас з Різдвом Христовим і з Новим роком, побажати кожному з вас щастя, здоров'я, миру і злагоди у кожен дім. Христос рождається!
На сьогоднішній програмі маємо честь вітати канадського журналіста Віктора Малярика, який недавно в Україні зняв для канадського телебачення W5 фільм про побут канадської медичної місії. Сьогодні пан Малярик розкаже, як обстановини українських шпиталів і коли можна буде побачити цей фільм на канадському телебаченні.
Дорогі глядачі, маємо шану вітати тепер надзвичайного талановитого журналіста канадського, ще й українця Віктора Малярика. Victor, welcome to our show.
Thanks for having me.
We understand that you traveled to Ukraine with W5, brought the whole camera crew with you, and have a delightful and wonderful story.
A very powerful and gripping story.
And we want to show a clip that explains everything in very precise detail. But before we get into that, how did you get this Ukrainian story again into the news cycle? It's the Syrian refugees and everything. How did you manage to get Ukraine back?
Well, we're always hard-hitting. We keep going after the hard-hitting stories, but every so often I feel this urge that I have to do something inspirational. And I knew what this Canadian medical mission was doing over in Ukraine and how important their work was, particularly that they're dealing with wounded soldiers who are out in eastern Ukraine fighting Russian military, fighting the separatists out there. And to see that these people were giving their time freely, I thought to myself, this has got to be an exceptional kind of story that Canadians have to know about. And I went to my bosses and I said, we got to do this. And I got to tell you, this one really tore at me going over there. It was like, it was inspirational, but it was so emotional and so gripping. It just, at times I was in tears, because of what I was seeing.
Дорогі глядачі, подивимося тепер на перший кліп із надзвичайного фільму W5 про медичну місію в Україну.
And while Mykola's life was spared, he endured horrific injuries. The grenade left him a triple amputee. Stumps are all that remain of both of his legs and his right arm. Part of his skull is missing, and 2 months after the explosion, his face still contains shrapnel.
The story was horrifying, and his injuries were devastating.
Dr. Ole Antonishin heads up the Canadian medical team. Initially, he wasn't sure they would be able to help Mykola.
We were now geared up to treat a pediatric patient. We did not know the extent of his injuries, and yet there were expectations that we would see him and potentially treat him.
But the moment Mykola was brought into the clinic, the doctors knew they had to help however they could.
So Victor, we just saw Mykola. What ultimately was able to be done with him?
Dr. Antonishin and several others looked at him and said, we can't do anything for his missing arm and his missing legs, which happened because of a grenade explosion. Very sad to see him. Rips at your heart, rips at your soul. An 11-year-old boy who also lost his 4-year-old brother in the explosion. But they all wanted to at least do something for his face. The scarring was horrific. There was a hole in his skull where they had to put a titanium mesh. They just really worked on what they could, and everybody was talking amongst themselves saying, we've got to do more. We've got to do more for Mykola. And as you're going to see at the end of the documentary, they bring him here. And the things that are happening to Mykola here, amazing. And it's our community that's doing it, along with the Shriners.
We do change lives, but I think the more important thing is that we show Ukrainians that Canadians care.
Продовжуємо розмову із Віктором Маляриком. Victor, I understand that this story really is about the volunteers.
Yeah, it is. I met Dr. Ole Antonishin. This guy.
Wonderful gentleman. Wonderful.
He's a godsend. And he's the magnet. Everybody coalesces around him, the doctors and the nurses and everyone else who's involved in this. To see this man at work, no ego here. I am here to help people. I'm a Canadian of Ukrainian background. I want to help these Ukrainians. And he does it. And he does it in such a way that all of the patients who come to see him just they're touched by his honesty and the fact that he's doing it from his soul. And I watched him, and then I watched the people around him who, again, I mean, they're infused with his soul, you know. He's so great. But there's so many doctors and nurses who came in from all over the country who go there and say, we want to do this as well, of Ukrainian background and not of Ukrainian background. They want to help because they've seen what has happened to these men and women who are fighting on the front lines, and they want to do their little bit. It may be a little bit, but man, they really touch the lives of the people that they help and fix up or try to do their best for.
Medical help involves not just goodwill, but it also involves technology, it involves medicine.
Yeah.
To what extent was that available at the military hospital in Kiev?
It isn't.
How does that work?
It isn't, you know, and that's one of the things that they bring. One of the things that you'll see in the documentary is here they are in almost like a MASH theater, you know, they're operating 2 tables at the same time, going full tilt. And there's doctors from Ukraine with their cell phones out and everything. They're watching these operations because they're learning new techniques that they don't know. They can't help these people, but they're learning from the Canadian doctors and nurses and saying, wow, so this is how it's done. So here, we're not only are our people going over there and doing good things for the wounded soldiers, but they're also helping the medical profession out there learn new techniques.
What about the patients themselves? Like, so the way it sounds, a lot of these patients are almost beyond help in a certain way.
Some of them are so tragically messed up. I mean, when you look at their faces and the gouges in their heads and their skulls, and you just think, oh my God, this is the results of bloody battles, and it's a wonder that they're alive. But they have to face their friends and their families with these faces that have been smashed out of recognition, and they're going to try to fix what they can so that these people can live at least a partially reasonable life. So to see them get fixed up, even just a little bit, and you see the thanks that they have for the Canadian doctors and the Canadian nurses and the Canadian people who go out there to help, it's amazing. They're just so thankful.
He's been blessed that he's been taken care of by such a wonderful people.
Victor, you've traveled the world, you've been at flashpoints everywhere. What did you get out of this experience traveling to Ukraine now? What did it do for you? What did it do for your soul?
Well, so many of the places I go to and so many of the things that I do are bad stuff. I'm going after the bad guys and reporting on horrific things in the world. This here says to me that there's always goodness somewhere. There's always somebody who wants to help and do good. And that always touches the soul. That's when you say to somebody, well, this was really worth it. I mean, I've done hundreds of documentaries that are pretty hard-hitting. This one cuts to the soul. And you see these good people. I remember talking with Dr. Havaleshka from Winnipeg, an anesthesiologist. And when I ask him a couple of questions, you see the tears come to his eyes because he knows that these are wounded soldiers. He knows that they've lost their brothers on the front lines. He sees the little boy and he gets emotional about it. But when he's at that operating theater, he's a professional. And they got this heart pounding inside them that says, I'm here because I want to help. I'm here because I love what I want to do here for these people. And that's what touches me for this. There were a couple times, I got to tell you, I had real tears in my eyes watching these people at work and thinking, my God, they're giving. They're not taking, they're giving.
These guys volunteered 6 months ago, are thrown up to the front and half their face and their arms are blown off. If you're not affected by that, you don't have a soul.
The medical mission tour, I think this was the second, possibly even
the
third time. Was there any evidence that the local doctors actually picked up on some of the training or some of the information that came in, let's say, in the first round?
I'm sure they did. I mean, you always learn, and you could see that the Ukrainian doctors and nurses were eager to learn. It wasn't like they were saying, oh, you're much better than we are, who do you think you are, sort of thing. But you could see there was a camaraderie. I know in the first mission I heard that there was like a little bit of distance, but this was incredible to see the doctors and nurses and everybody playing off each other and talking to each other and caring about what was happening in front of them and on the operating table and in the operating rooms. you could see that they wanted to learn, and you could see that they were actually learning. So some much more good was coming from this, just aside from helping, wounded soldiers.
Now, when can we all see this on W5? When is this to be presented?
This will be on next Saturday and next Sunday. Saturday at 7 o'clock right across the whole country, and then repeated again on Sunday. And I got to tell you, there are certain parts of it you better bring a box of Kleenex with you.
Документар програми W5 «Healing Hands» про медичну місію в Україні можна оглянути 30 січня о годині 7 вечора і в неділю 31 січня о годині 1 пополудні на CTV. Запрошуємо вас повідомити всіх знайомих українців і неукраїнців оглянути цей документар на телестанції CTV.
Христос рождається, славімо Його. В гарний день і в добрий час ми з Різдвом вітаємо вас із вечерю святою, голосною колядою, щоб рік новий приніс до хати, щастя, радости багато. On behalf of the Board of Directors and staff at St. Vladimir Institute, I'd like to extend our warmest greetings of the holiday season. This past year, we've seen great things at the Institute, and we look forward to seeing both members and hopefully new members attending our various events and programs we have planned for the coming months. Thank you to our members, supporters, and volunteers for your loyal dedication to the Institute. Your generosity allows us to promote and foster our Ukrainian heritage and culture in our community. Merry Christmas and all the best for 2016. Veselak vam Sviat.